Hello and welcome to another Pioneer video. Today we're going to try to take as many pre-game actions as possible, putting in a Leyline of Resonance if it's in our opening hand to copy our various pump spells, as well as now Quicksilver, a 1-mana 1/1 creature with haste that gets to start into play if it's in our opener. Can also power it up later to give it an extra +1 counter and double strike. So ideally we have both Quicksilver and Leyline of Resonance in our opener, so then on turn 1 we can already start copying our pump spells, and in the case of something like an Ancestral Anger, we get to draw 2 cards for 1 mana in addition to giving additional power and trample. Or we've got the new Impolite Entrance, which can give trample and haste and draw a card, so that's also quite synergistic with our creatures that don't naturally have haste, while still drawing 2 cards with a Leyline out. And then we've got a few additional creatures here with a Cacophony Scamp, which is one of the more powerful ones in any deck with Leyline of Resonance, since you can potentially pump up the Scamp with your copied pump spell, get an attack in, and then if it damages the opponent, you can still sacrifice it, even if you don't have anything to proliferate, just so you can have it die and deal damage equal to its power to any target, so it can once again target our opponent and maybe even finish them off as early as turn 2, technically, if you've got the Leyline. So that's one of the most powerful starts possible in the format. And then the Fireblade Charger is a weaker version compared to the Scamp, as we don't have any equipment synergy here, but it will still deal damage equal to its power when it dies, so it's a nightmare for opponents to try and block with their creatures if we have a bunch of pump spells available, since we can still maybe trade up and deal a ton of damage on the way out. And then of course Monastery Swiftspear with haste and prowess is also great here. And then our remaining pump spells include Monstrous Rage, banned in Standard, so it's got to be pretty busted. Can give us a monster roll token going forward. And then the Titan Strength can sometimes be cast in our upkeep before taking our draw step, just to get the benefit from the Scry 1, especially if we also have the Leyline to Scry 1 repeatedly, and can still give 3 additional power. And then Turn Inside Out can give 3 additional power and lets us manifest the Dread if the targeted creature dies, so it can also be a nice combat trick if our creature's expected to die. And of course also very good with the Cacophony Scamp, which we can potentially sacrifice ourselves. Now one card I'm not playing that some of these builds do run is the Burn Together Adventure with maybe a black splash for the Sellsword, and that is a reasonable card to play in any deck with these pump spells, but of course the Adventure does not get copied by the Leyline of Resonance, so a bit of a nombo there perhaps, so I decided to go without it and just maximize these 1-mana cantrips with a Leyline hopefully, and we'll see how that plays out. And then the mana base 20 lands, a few utility lands that can maybe help out in some longer games, but if all goes to plan, the game's going to be over pretty quickly, so we won't really need them. So if you're on a budget, feel free to just run 20 basic mountains if you don't have one of those lands. So yeah, for now, let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the draw with both a Leyline of Resonance and Quicksilver. So yeah, pretty decent opening hand. Hoping to find more cantrips that we can pair with our Leyline. For now, maybe go with a Scamp, and then next turn I can Swiftspear plus Monstrous Rage. Put on blue-red. And they're gonna pass. So I can't really go for Monstrous Rage into open mana. I mean, I guess I can. What is their opponent playing here? Yeah, it's worth a shot, maybe. Target the Scamp and Quicksilver. Okay, so if I sack the Scamp, I can deal another 4. Don't think that's worth it. And now a tablet, so it is a blue-red control deck. Did not find another pump spell. A little bit short of the power-up ability. So we'll just be an attack for 5. I think I still wait on the Scamp. If they destroy it themselves without exiling, I can still deal 2 damage on the way out. So our hand was incredibly exciting with Leyline and Quicksilver, but yeah, we failed to draw another pump spell. But maybe it's not gonna matter. They would need a Sweeper, still take 2, we still have a Quicksilver as a follow-up. Alright, and now an Impolite Entrance. It is a sorcery. So how do we want to sequence? I can just attack first. I could still cast it just to draw. Now let's just attack and see what happens. Opponent's got a Prismari Charm to bounce the Scamp. That will actually keep them alive. But now I can pretty safely cast the Entrance and take it from there. And we still have a lethal Quicksilver. Fireblade Charger. And another one. Yeah, I'll play these out. And then keep the other Charger in hand on the off chance that they have like an Anger of the Gods type effect. Alright, Epiphany to take an extra turn if they can take a bunch of those. We could still be in trouble. So maybe punished for not immediately going for the kill, but yeah, opponent's still too far behind. Awesome, on to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw, and this is the Dream, a Leyline with a Quicksilver, and a way to draw a bunch of cards with Ancestral Anger. Opponents with their own Leyline, so they're on a life gain deck. That's a lot of pre-game actions. And now, turn 1, Forest. I guess it's Leyline of Sanctity, my bad, it's maybe a Aura Hexproof deck. Alright, those can be kind of annoying, if they have a Sheltered by Ghost, for instance. I think for now it's still Charger, and then next turn we can fire off a bunch of bump spells. Because I don't really expect any earlier removal. Could also be a combo deck, I suppose. Okay, opponent keeping up 2 mana. Yeah, maybe kick things off with Titan Strength. Let's see what happens. So normally I would want to target the Charger again, so I can deal more damage, but maybe to hedge our bets a little bit, I can diversify. And then I don't particularly need an extra land. I'll take another Titan Strength. Go to attackers. In the case of a Scamp, we would want to pump it up a bit more so we can then maybe sacrifice it after dealing damage. But our opponent actually has a Leyline in play, so we wouldn't be able to target them with a Scamp even if we wanted to. And of course with a Fireblade Charger, that's not gonna work, since that one only triggers when it dies, and we cannot sacrifice it willingly. Now a Sylvan Caryatid. That's fine. So we can still anger into Titan Strength, or Titan Strength first if we prefer the Scry. And give both Trample. Definitely don't need another Leyline. And yeah, opponent scoops it up. Awesome, on to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. Don't get to do any pre-game actions, but it's still a serviceable hand with Scamp and Charger, double Monstrous Rage, and turn inside out. We can certainly do some damage. Okay, so against Watery Grave, maybe start with a Charger, since Scamp is a bit more valuable. I see opponent on the Rogues. And now a Soaring Thought Thief. Mills a few more cards. And yeah, I'm gonna take it for now. So I can play a Scamp, Charger, could play defense for a turn, although of course into open mana that's gonna be a bit sketchier. So yeah, maybe this is still Charger attack, play Scamp, with a plan of Monstrous Rage. Alright, opponent is blocking. And they have a Wind Robber. And now the Enforcer has Death Touch. They get to draw 2 for 1 mana. And immediately sack the Wind Robber. That's strange. Okay, Quicksilver can be played and then set up an attack. Opponent blocks Quicksilver. So then I don't mind, let's see. I mean, I could just go for more damage if I pump the Scamp. In fact, I could have lethal if I pump Scamp twice. So that may be worth it. And it doesn't seem like they have a response. Could also Titan Strength, save the rage. Damage happens, and then sack the Scamp for another 7. And we get to Manifest Dread for what it's worth. Alright, I'll take it. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We have a free Quicksilver, Scamp, a couple pump spells, some cantrips. Yeah, would have been more exciting with a Leyline, of course. But could still work out. And then having that extra creature that we can target in case of removal is quite useful. Opponent taking a couple mulligans, so they could be on a combo deck. It's not always a clear indication, but makes it more likely. I think I still like Scamp. Could also Titan Strength and Upkeep to maybe scry into a land. Untapped Otawara. Yeah, odds of a bounce spell are pretty low. So I don't hate the Titan Strength. Could also turn Inside Out on the Scamp. Yeah, maybe I should target the Scamp. Normally I would want to target the haste creature in case of a bounce spell. Swift Spear isn't bad, but a land would be better. So we'll draw, find a mountain. So then now I'm kind of liking the turn Inside Out on Scamp. Because we can already sacrifice it for 7 extra damage. Putting my opponent to 4, and we get to Manifest Dread. And then we'll still have 2 creatures left over. To hopefully cross the finish line. Opponent is blue-white. Alright, the den can maybe be useful later. For now, maybe start with an Impolite Entrance on Quicksilver, see what's up. Opponent's gonna Faithful Mending, so it might be more of a Greasefang Reanimator deck. As we see Parhelion and Oculus. Found another Charger. So now we just want to Ancestral Anger. And then next turn I can set up a Hasty Charger. And with a Greasefang, our opponent could bring back a Parhelion. So yeah, could still be a little sketchy here. Maybe they can bring back an Oculus, especially if they bring it back untapped. They'll have enough blockers to maybe survive. Although if I find any additional pump spell, we could still get there. And if they have nothing impactful, then it should be trivial. Opponent thinking long and hard. So maybe they don't have the answer. Can go for a Charger. And maybe our opponent just disconnected here, also possible. If they don't have a third land, maybe their only untapped lands require a shock land, costing them 2 life. And then they weren't able to do anything else. Because yeah, if they're playing Greasefang, they're also playing black. So there's only so many painless untapped lands that they'll have access to. Can try and give it haste. Find another entrance. And another Charger. But this should do it. Alright, sweet. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a promising hand, assuming the charger survives. We've got the Leyline entrance as a 1 mana draw 2. Can maybe save it to give another creature haste as well. And our opponent's green-white. Another color pair known for a ton of removal. A bishop of wings, so it's angel life gain. Okay, so what do we like here? Probably need to attack first. Can always cast entrance second main. Opponent did not block, sadly. Yeah, I think we just monstrous rage and then cycle the impolite entrance. Save the turn inside out. Because Fireblade Charger is not a scamp, so we couldn't sacrifice it willingly. If they have a Skyclave for Charger, things get a little awkward. Because then I don't have a creature to target anymore. It's going to be a Righteous Valkyrie. Gating 4 of Bishop. And yeah, we're flooding out a bit. So still like the impolite entrance, I guess. Can maybe find some other haste creature. Titan Strength, I could have gone full control to maybe scry with the Titan Strength before my next draw step. Found a Scamp. Now Scamp is a lot more impressive when it comes to combining it with our pump spells. So for now, I think we still attack. But maybe don't plan to cast any pump spells. And then hope that the Scamp survives. Now the Scamp does lack Trample at the moment, but if I Titan Strength in upkeep I get to scry to maybe still find a Trample effect. And luckily they did not have a Collected Company, although Resplendent Angel is still very good. Since I'll get to make an Angel token, which will gain them more life, and then pump the team. So yeah, this might be beyond reach now. Bishop attacking. Interesting. So I could now turn inside out, and I think it's actually worth it. Because I get to answer 2 of the opponent's creatures. And manifest Dread a bunch. So the bishop attack was a bit ambitious. So then I may as well go for Resplendent Angel, since it's already making a token end of turn, as opposed to the Righteous Valkyrie. And then Quicksilver and a land. Still gonna Titan Strength in upkeep. And then I guess I can target the Charger, doesn't really matter, since we don't have a fling effect in this build. Turn inside out is probably good enough. Take my draw. Yeah, no real point in transforming Quicksilver. So this is an attack for 12 plus 6 is 18, so it's not quite lethal. So I might be better off holding the turn inside out. So we can set up an attack next turn as well. So yeah, game goes on. Opponent would have had an easy win had they left the bishop back. But now we still have a chance. Could have been greedier and bottomed turn inside out in the hopes of finding something like the Ancestral Anger to draw a few more cards. Could of course still get owned by something like a Collected Company. Alright, opponent maybe timed out. Yeah, maybe that play backfiring just upset them too much. You know what, let's try turning this face up anyway. So it's now 5 mana to give it double strike. And go to blockers. They could still have the company here if they're slow rolling it. but hopefully a turn inside out can still set up some trades. And power up, we can activate at instant speed. But if they have nothing, this would be Xaxes. Alright, I guess we'll go for it. Okay, I'll take it. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a Leyline of Resonance, Swift Spear, couple pump spells. Yeah, seems worth a shot. Do see the drawback of Ramming Up Ruins if it's in your opening hand as your only land. But since we're typically the aggressor, we can often afford to pay a bit of life to have that late game reach. Luckily no burn spell, so we get to untap with a Swift Spear. I could upkeep Titan Strength to try and scry into a land. And wow, opponent just scoops it up here. Yeah, I think I would have gone for Titan Strength, scry one twice, try and find a land. And then if we do find it, the question is whether we Monstrous Rage for more damage or Entrance just to guarantee drawing a few more cards. Against blue-red, Monstrous Rage getting this up to 3 toughness makes it a lot harder to kill, so actually I think I would have gone for the Monstrous Rage here. But yeah, I'll take it. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. Our hand is pretty fair with no pre-game actions, but I think it's still functional. With Swift Spear, couple quality pump spells, a cantrip. Opponent also on a red deck. There is a consideration for holding the Swift Spear here. If our opponent's got a 2 damage effect, I can't really afford to lose my only creature. Opponent's got a Lava Runner now. Okay. So play Swift Spear. And then... And do I attack? If they block and shock, I guess we're still fine. Although I guess I would have to make the first move in that scenario. So I guess we'll just pass here. It's pretty obvious that they have a Burst Lightning. Then I would get punished for making the first move. Now if they have multiple shock effects, they can still get the Swift Spear here. Chain Whirler is acceptable. I don't think I want to cast anything end of turn. Scamp. Luckily dodged the Chain Whirler. So now's my opportunity to cast something like Ancestral Anger, which can otherwise be a little awkward. Could go for another one. Could also make sure the Monstrous Rage resolves. And then still play a Scamp. And this way the Swift Spear will have at least 3 toughness. So it's going to be harder for them to destroy going forward. And then the Scamp can also threaten a lot of damage. Set an upkeep stop in case we want to scry. They did have another Chain Whirler sadly, so there goes my Scamp. And if they keep both Chain Whirlers back, it can be trickier for me to attack. But our opponent's gonna get in there. Yeah, I don't hate the upkeep Titan Strength. Make sure we find more action. That's action. So we'll anger first. Implied Entrance triggers Prowess. Their opponent's going to be forced to block and they'll still lose the Chain Whirler. Another Anger is even better than Monstrous Rage now. Yeah, I wonder if they even had a Burst Lightning to begin with, because they had the opportunity to maybe force out a pump spell after I attacked into the Lava Runner. I see, they actually had a Wizard's Lightning, which is why they're running the Lava Runner. So they get to essentially get a 1-mana Lightning Bolt. So goes face, and then a second copy now answers the Swift Spear. So had they attacked and gone face, they could have put me to 1 here. So yeah, this was very close. But now we shouldn't have any trouble getting the last point of damage. Can just activate Ramunap Ruins for the win. Otherwise, Cacophony Scamp blocking could have also maybe done it. Alright, sweet. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a Dream Start, a Leyline, Quicksilver, couple cantrips. On the play, so we get to immediately draw 2. There's nothing our opponent can do about it. And then maybe upkeep on turn 2, Titan Strength, before we keep drawing with Ancestral Anger. Because I may need to find another creature if they have a 1-mana answer here. And there we go, a replacement Quicksilver. Not as good as some other creature could have been, but I'll still take it. So make sure to put an upkeep stop. So we can Titan Strength before our draw. Get rid of extra lanes since we don't need them. Impolite Entrance is another draw 2. Can be bad. And this is still gonna add some more power. Alright, there's another Leyline, probably not getting cast. Our opponent's all the way down to 6, all they did was play a tapped Triome. But now they could have some interaction available. A Leyline Binding could go for the Leyline of Resonance. Nope, still goes for Quicksilver. So then now I get to Swift Spear into Entrance. And if I draw a pump spell, they're dead. If not, we'll play Quicksilver. Alright, opponent's gonna give up. I'll take it. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw, facing Kahira, so likely control. This hand's pretty underwhelming. Can certainly mulligan. Now we've got a Leyline. Double Titan Strength. Against presumably control, might prefer Ramunap Ruins over Mountain. And then keep the double Titan Strength. So yeah, hopefully they don't have an immediate answer to the Charger. Opponent passes with 2 mana up. I think I still Titan Strength and upkeep to try and improve my draw step. Opponent just counters it, that's fine. Still get the copy. And a Monstrous Rage. It's not a bad card. Yeah, I guess I'll keep it. Because if they had a Get Lost, they would have cast the Get Lost presumably on my creature. So then if they don't have a cheap removal spell, I can maybe get away with just winning with a Charger. Sadly, this is a Charger and not a Cacophony Scam, so I can't sacrifice it to deal additional damage. But we'll see. Alright, sadly they did have the lockdown, so that can cleanly exile the Charger. And yeah, this is where we're now left without any creatures, and where the control deck can take over. So that was my concern with keeping the pump spell as opposed to another creature. And now they can potentially just counter the Charger, but gotta try it. Yeah. Alright, this is not gonna be an easy game. If they slam down a Planeswalker, it could already be lights out. Can try casting another Leyline. They're also not putting Kahira in hand, so presumably they're keeping up some more expensive interaction. Maybe a 3 steps with Spree. They're gonna let the Leyline go. But yeah, if they can just answer my creatures, they're still fine. Don't have incredibly high hopes for Den of the Bugbear surviving. I can now pay for No More Lies. If they try to destroy the charger, they would just die if I can resolve my 2 pump spells. And yeah, there's the 3 steps as I imagined. So they loot away a land. And yeah, there's Teferi, that's a problem. That's gonna draw them an extra card each turn. So this is a likely game over. Alright, Swiss Spear gives me a little bit of hope. If they have nothing, we technically have lethal, so I don't think I bother going after Teferi. Just gotta cross my fingers here. And then start with maybe a Titan Strength. Counterspells are fine now. But they could also have a Get Lost. They're letting the Scries resolve. So maybe they don't have a removal spell then. A land would let me animate the den, but they also have a Hall, so I don't think a land's all that useful. Alright, I mean, this is 11 damage. I see. Opponent could exile my Swiss Spear. Yep, that's gonna deal with it, sadly. Okay, we had to try. So now we're super dead. Opponent can end the game pretty quickly if they decide to get aggressive with a Hall, but we're probably gonna see them play extra safe and just sit back on as much interaction as possible. Narset also punishes our cantrips. So yeah, opponent had the right interaction with the lockdown. And control is usually gonna have a good time against creature-based decks once they survive the early turns. So this game is very much over. But we'll play it out, I guess. Opponent can consult with Kicker. Teferi's getting closer to an ultimate. And a March exiles, so we don't get any damage on the way out. Otherwise, we could have still maybe burned them for a bit. But yeah, the fact that they have all these exile effects specifically also counteracts creatures like the Fireblade Charger and Scamp. Opponent's now on the Kahira beatdown plan, so they're not interested in the creature lanes. But yeah, the game ended a while ago. And they found another March, so they've got my next creature covered.
No time for a break.
Ancestral Anger doesn't work because of Narset. So, yep, that's all I can do here. They get to activate Fountain Port. Are we going to see a Teferi ultimate before they deal lethal, or are they going to put me out of my misery with a Hall? Yeah, opponent's just going to take every possible precaution and keep up all their mana. Beza can also gain more life. Alright, take 6, and then next turn they should have it. Can now finally activate Den of the Bugbear, but it's not gonna have a great time attacking. Teferi's gonna ultimate. Nope, Teferi's still plussing. I gave them the opportunity, but they didn't take it. GG's. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. This hand, sadly, I'm probably not going to be able to keep, despite the leyline. Now, I can still target opposing creatures with Impolite Entrance just to draw a card, but it's not going to get copied by the leyline. So, yeah, I'm probably better off taking a mulligan. But we are on the draw, so I get to maybe still look at an extra card to find a creature. Alright, I'm gonna keep this, but I wouldn't recommend doing so. I'm probably not gonna find a creature and get punished. But, you know, sometimes you gotta try it for science. So for now, probably cycle the Anger over the Entrance, so we can give some of our creatures haste. Still nothing. Opponent on maybe a green-white company deck, the Death and Taxes variety. Okay, we did find a Quicksilver now. Question is what to do with it. Titan Strength for the double scry. Or Impolite Entrance for the double draw. I guess I don't hate the double scry, keep the haste for maybe one of our creatures that doesn't naturally have haste. Yeah, gotta get rid of it, because if they have removal, I need a backup creature. Could see something like a Skyclave Apparition, which honestly can also go for the leyline. Yeah, we'll see what they target. My creature. So happy with my scry decisions. And we found a Charger, so I get to play Charger, Impolite Entrance for haste and trample, and then still copy turn inside out. Which lets me manifest Dread a bunch. It is Charger and not Scamp, so it's not quite lethal if they take it. Opponent will block, so then turn inside out seems perfect. So a greedy keep seems to be working out so far. And yeah, opponent scoops it up because we can now actually just damage our opponents directly to finish them off. So blocking was probably not the play, all things considered. But yeah, I'll take it. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We've got a Leyline, a lot of creatures, but no pump spell. So pretty unusual hand. It doesn't take much to make this hand exciting, especially Ancestral Anger or Impolite Entrance to draw to. So I'm willing to give it a shot. But of course, if we never find a pump spell, this hand's going to be a little awkward. I think Scamp has the highest upside. Opponent with Sunken Citadel on red, and we found a Monstrous Rage. So we could go Swiss Spear into Monstrous Rage. Yeah, I don't hate that. Question is whether I want to sack the Scamp already. I don't think I do. And I'll spread out monster roll token, and wow, opponent just scoops it up here. So yeah, you do get some free wins with this mono-red Leyline deck. So that's the reason to play it. Strangely enough, this is one of the few formats where you can still play Leyline of Resonance in Best of One, because it's banned in Best of One Standard, it's nerfed in Historic, and therefore a ton of other formats. So Pioneer is weirdly one of the few formats where you still get to play it. And yeah, the card can be pretty busted if it's in your opening hand. Quicksilver makes it even better since you can now already start cantripping on turn 1 with your Ancestral Anger. So yeah, overall I've been quite impressed by the deck. Question remains whether or not we want to include those fling effects like the Burn Together adventure from Sellsword, because it does have good synergy with Scamp and Fireblade Charger, but it doesn't have the best synergy with Leyline because it doesn't get copied. But of course, if you can copy a pump spell and then fling your creature, it's great, but that also requires a lot of setup. You need lands, creatures, a Leyline in your opener, pump spell, and then you need your Sellsword. So maybe that's jumping through a few too many hoops, but so far the deck seems to be working out just fine without it. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's gameplay. I want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.